Hello, everyone. Welcome to week three of Couch to Clutch. And last week, I think I talked a little bit about HRV, which is heart rate variability. The overnight heart rate variability can usually tell you how your recovery is going. It's not from the training that you put on muscles or gain fitness, it's actually from the recovery. The training just is the stimulus for that. But if you don't recover well, that training is not going to be of any use. So the recovery is really, really important. And HRV is an indicator, is a very good indicator of are you recovering really well from the training or not. So a low HRV would usually indicate that your system is under stress still, and it can be from stress from various reasons. Not it might not be the physical stress you put. It might be some mental stress that you put from your work, from your relationships, from whatever you do during the day. If you have a lot of anxiety, if you have a lot of screen time that makes you think a lot of things about you know movies that you are watching or games that you're playing. So all of that is people call it chilling, but it's not really chilling. It still puts stress on your system, and your parasympathetic system. There are two systems. One is sympathetic system, which is the active one. One is parasympathetic system, which is the recovery when you are cooling down. So sleep is somewhere you do cool down. So that helps with recovery. Meditation helps with recovery. I think thoughtless states like when you're chilling on the beach or when your thought density is really low and you don't really care about anything else in whatever is happening in your life. I think that's when your parasympathetic system is also very active. So there's a high probability that when you are taking a lot of recovery, your HRV, the heart rate variability, can be elevated, which is a good thing. So my range is between 44 to 58. And last week, there are a couple of days when it was below 44. So one day it was 44 ms, and the second day it was 36 ms, and I can track it from my watch. Um, so I have all the data, an app for that watch. And usually when the HRV is not normal, lower than the normal range, recovery is not good. Usually I can see the sleep is also not that great for the day. So this is usually caused by a few things. I think I did a massive mistake of eating after 6 p.m., which I usually don't. I stopped all my eating till 6 p.m. and then just to prepare myself for a nice sleep by 9:30. But a couple of days in the weekend, I think there were a few engagements. Life happens. A lot of times there are social gatherings to go to. There are people who would call you for a party, and then you would enjoy with them, socialize with them, and time goes by, and it's all of a sudden 2 a.m. And then you come home and sleep, and your HRV just goes for a toss. And your sleep also goes for a toss. So things happen. It's fine. But then the next day, what I usually do is avoid any kind of activity because that activity would not really bring any results, to be very frank. So, uh, and then check again after sleeping well that day if the next day the HRV is back on track, if your sleep is back on track. But what happened last week was both days, Saturday and Sunday, we had to go to two of our friends' places, and it just yeah, it was a pleasant experience, but not pleasant in terms of training, of course. So mm, so yeah, these things do happen, and you gotta bounce back from it. But it does send you back a couple of days, couple 3 days, which you will not be doing much in training. Uh, we can still take like walks. lighter exercises, light jogging, light cycling, but not anything heavy on the days when your recovery has not been great. So that's the challenge I faced last week, and the heart rate variability is a very good indicator, along with sleep, of where you are on the current day, the overnight heart rate variability. And should you be doing like really intense exercise on that given day or not? So that's one cheat that I'm using currently. And I do have a plan for uh, November 2023 when I have the Cyclothon Hyderabad amateur category, 50 kilometers. I think a week from now, I'm going to Bangalore for the same HCL Cyclothon, but I'm not expecting much this time around because, of course, uh, I don't think I'll be able to, you know, able to get a podium or anything. So I'll try and hang out with the lead peloton, but not the not any podium expectations. But yes, in November I do have a target for a podium finish. Uh, Currently, the rider who is winning is Sanjeev Sharma, and in amateur category and in 50 kilometers, and he probably sits around 240 watts. And he might be weighing around 78, 79, 80 kilos. That's my wild guess. I did talk to him briefly about it, but um, you always have to measure your opponent to get 10% better every time you meet them. So accordingly, I have prepared a plan, uh, and this plan, I think, my coach Sunil Menon might also be very aligned with, that this is what we got to do in the next 9 months or so. So phase one is from now to 82 kilos. That's the target because if weight drops uh, now, it's a good thing to drop it now than later, because I can build on the power later on as well. So the main goals right now is drop fat steadily, raise FTP from 220 watts to around 240-ish range, improve the VO2 max ceiling, and fat loss rules would be to lose around zero point 0.5 kilos every week. Now, current reality is I have been losing like 1 kilo per month, which is around 0.25. So I have to really tighten the fiber and protein regime and cut down carbs and just stick to the regime of not having too much carbs later in the day, but front load the carbs and then have more proteins and fiber later, if at all. And also strictly follow the 6 p.m. rule, where after sunset, you're not supposed to eat anything. Big deficits can only happen on easy rest days, where you can tighten your diet a little bit. But fueling properly on the interval days, the hard days, is pretty important because carbs are performance tools. Without carbs, your session doesn't really go well. I have tried fasted and it doesn't go well. So the quality of the training uh, depends on the carb availability, the glycogen availability in your muscles, and yeah, that's important for hard days. So the objective for the next 10 to 12 weeks is if FTP rises while weight drops, that's the perfect zone. Raise FTP, drop weight. And there is a caveat to that. If weight drops, but power drops, then we ease the deficit of cutting down calories. And if the power rises, but weight stalls, then we tighten the nutrition slightly. Okay. Then comes phase two. This is probably around So we are in January and February, March, April. So this is like May and June, uh, mid of June. That's when the difficult phase is, I would say, because usually when you start something, it's easier to commit to it. But then when the difficult middle part comes, you're not really, um, you know, you don't have the visibility of the end goal, end line. And then you have used a little bit of motivation that you had in the beginning. So this is the hard part where you just have to stick to the regime that you have promised yourself that you'll be sticking with. So that's why the FTP goal is not much here. I don't expect it to grow more than 15 watts here. And I think I'll be focusing more on improving ability to hold 95 to 100% of FTP late in rides. So we have to put some sessions where um, the tempo or the zone 3 kind of intervals are later in the ride. And then fat loss slows slightly because you're losing a lot of fat, then it might hit a plateau at some point. So it is better to just lose it not as aggressively as at the beginning. And that's I think fatigue resistance is a huge contributor to race wins usually. It's not the most powerful or the lightest people who uh, win. It's the people who have the most fatigue resistance that win the races in cycling. Because there's multiple surges that are possible, and then in the beginning there's a surge, then in the middle there might be multiple surges that you have to respond to, and it might have a toll on your fatigue, and then you have to really manage that to have a strong finish. Because usually amateur races would finish in a sprint, a 500 to 700 meter sprint, most of the times. And then threshold work after some prior load. Yeah, these are all for adding fatigue resistance, longer sweet spot blocks, uh, some back-to-back harder days, but controlled. So this is the hard part, as I was talking about. And the objective is you are building the ability to hurt and still produce power. So yeah, I would say that's the hardest part. And then phase three, the final lean phase. So you're dropping weight again, final fat drop, so that you're good to go in the last leg. FTP kind of stabilizes or nudges a little bit up here. This is high quality race specific intensity that needs to be put in the training regime. And weight loss is not very fast here because you've already reduced like more than 10 kilos. So yeah, it's going to slow down a little bit after 20% or so in fat percentage. So performance is the priority here because we are heading towards the last, around September, October. No more dieting, fueling hard, uh, keeping the weight stable, doing race simulations. All these things will be important. Objective is to have the is to sharpen the punch and repeatability. And there are a few drills that can be done for cornering as well, because there are a lot of U-turns in criterium racing, usually 3 or 4 laps of a circuit on a 50-kilometer race. So that's when racecraft and everything becomes more important. So that's all for this week. The next week, I will discuss more about what are the factors that impact racing in cycling. So there's a equation that I've come up with uh, that kind of, yeah, it does cover most of the parameters, I would say. So That's it for this week. See you next week. And this is Rajit from Diary of a Cyclist. Bye bye.